Sometimes I grow so tired. But I know about one thing I got to do. Ramble on. Another time, the time is now. See myself.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Rambling Men's Sports Podcast. I'm your host, James Connolly. That right there is my co-host, as always, Shane Price. We're actually joined by an old buddy of ours from the Chick-fil-A days back in college, Armand Trotto, who was a fellow Eagles fan of mine. That's why we got him on the show. Excited to have you today, dude. But the show's going to be a little bit different today. Yeah, absolutely. Today's going to be a little bit different. We're only going to stick to one topic, obviously, that being the Super Bowl. I'm going to take the lead for this one. We'll do a show later in the week with the rest of the topics we usually do. But I want to start with a poll because I've honestly always wondered this. Shane came up with the poll question. I thought it was a really good question. Should the Monday after Super Bowl Sunday be a national holiday? And I honestly do think in the United States where, football is such a tradition, maybe not to the whole country, but at least to a pretty big portion of it. Some people should at least practice this, especially definitely regionally if the team wins or something like that. But what do you guys think?
Armand, you go ahead, man. You're a guest.
Okay, cool. All right. Honestly, I think that it definitely should be a holiday. But I was talking to somebody today, and it's funny that this is actually one of the questions. In reality, President's Day should be right after the Super Bowl. I know, President's Day, like George Washington, I don't really think he cares about his birthday. The guy did a great thing for the country. And, hey, you know what? First president and all, but you know what? Hey, give us the Monday off. Come on, man. Or even move the Super Bowl to a Saturday. Yeah, I understand this NFL has its own day, but come on.
I agree.
Be real.
I agree. What about you, Shane?
I'm in total agreement. I don't even work. I'm unemployed. I don't know about you, Armand. James, I know you work. You had to get up after this, I shouldn't say hangover, but this euphoric high that you experienced yesterday. Both you, Armand, too, but do you work, Armand? We haven't really caught up in a while.
Yeah, no, I work at a school. I have to get up at 6:30 every day.
Okay, so you both had to come into work.
I forced myself.
You had to come into work after this high of experiencing a Super Bowl win. You needed the day off, in my opinion. You have to decompress after that. That takes a lot out of you. When Green Bay won the Super Bowl a few years ago, I was in high school, so I had to go into school. That was a little bit different, but I didn't want to be there. It was ridiculous. It should be a national holiday.
Yeah, I didn't sleep too well, but the way we're basically going to do this today, I'm going to recap the game very briefly, and then basically we're all going to give our takeaways from the game. Patriots won the coin toss. They elected to defer. They always do that. Eagles made their presence known on the first drive. They drove right down the field with each to a probable touchdown. Zach Ertz, false start, penalty pushed us back to the second and goal from the 7, and we never really recovered from there. Patriots quickly answered with a field goal of their own. It was 3-3. That's when the fireworks started flying. Nick Foles tossed one up to Alshon Jeffrey. Alshon Jeffrey made a crazy catch over Eric Rowe for the first touchdown of the game.
Yep.
Jake Elliott, who can hit every goddamn kick, cannot make an extra point, missed an extra point after, so it's 9-3. Some weird play calling gives the Eagles the ball back then. Jet sweep on a 3rd and 2 isn't a good play call in my mind, even though it was wide open. Brandon Cooks ran right into, I think it was Rodney McLeod. Rodney McLeod made a nice play, tried to hurdle him, wasn't very smart. But then the deep toss to Gronk on 4th and 1, I don't really get that. Run the ball, call one of your easy completions that I know Josh McDaniels always schemes up. But Eagles score a touchdown on a LeGarrette Blount run after that, 15-3. Patriots rolling back 2 consecutive scores. One of them was on a James White run, really impressive run. I think he broke 3 or 4 tackles. Patriots loved to score right before halftime, and they did. It was 15-12, but luckily due to some wizardry between Foles and Peterson, the Eagles scored on one of the ballsiest plays in Super Bowl history, in my opinion. The Philly special is what they're calling it, and Philadelphia keeps the momentum going into halftime, and I honestly think that was absolutely pivotal in this game. I think it was a mistake the Jaguars made a week ago. Second story was a completely different, or second half was a completely different story, I should say. Tom Brady could do no wrong. I swear, every time he let go of the ball, it was like a 25-yard completion. I don't know. The first drive in the third in particular, Gronk, I think there was 5 completions forward of Gronk for like 60
Yeah, they
something
went to
yards.
him early.
They threw it to him every time. But again, here comes old Nicky Foles to save the day. Complete dime on a pass to Clement, 29-19 Philly. Tom, again, another bomb to Hogan. Hogan had a great game, by the way. Pulled New England within 3, 29-26. Jake Elliott hits another field goal to make the score 32-26. So at this point, I'm thinking, here we go.
Yep.
Patriots are down 6, setting up perfectly for a 1-point Patriots win. Right on schedule, Tom Brady roars down the field, throws a crazy ball to Gronk, who made the,
Yeah, that was a beautiful pass in the end zone.
Awesome.
Yeah.
32-33. And at this point, I'm thinking, okay, I think we're going to score, but I think it's going to be a field goal. Tom Brady's going to get a field
You
goal.
texted me and said it was ball game.
I thought we were going to lose. I really did. I genuinely did. Then one last time, Nick Foles goes all the way down the field, hits Zach Ertz on the final play of the game. Eagles missed a 2-point try. Eagles are up 5 with 2 minutes to go. So I'm not loving our chances, but I'm thinking we might have a shot here. I thought everyone else on earth at that time thought, the Patriots are going to win the game by 2. Finally, the defense, who was playing terrible all night, made the most opportune play an Eagles probably ever made. Brandon Graham stripped Tom Brady. Derek Barnett recovers. Jake Elliott hits another field goal. At that point, worst case scenario, we can tie and go into overtime. Patriots have, Hail Mary at the end of the game.
Almost converted.
That wasn't called illegal touching downfield or something, but it's fine. But game, Philadelphia Eagles get their first Super Bowl ever, and I honestly almost cried. But I really want to hear your 2 takes, Armand, since you're our guest. Take it away, and you're an Eagles fan. Take it away here.
Oh, man, I'll tell you one thing. That game was a roller coaster. Going into that game, you're thinking it's going to be a defensive battle. But in reality, it's a shootout.
Yep.
Like, who's thinking that, one, Tom Brady's throwing for 505 yards and Nick Foles is coming out and playing like he did in the NFC Championship game and throwing for 378 and catching a touchdown? Honestly, that was the most amazing play I've ever seen in my life in the Super Bowl.
Same.
But, I'll tell you one thing, though. There were a couple questionable calls that I didn't think that were going to go our way, but they did. Especially with that Clement touchdown. Oh, man. I was for sure thinking that he was out. Because in reality, it's like, you see him, he catches it, he has maintained possession, but it's still moving, gets it in his arm, then that toe is like, it's on that line.
Two things. I just kind of want to comment on that. 2 things. One, I do think that was probably not necessarily a touchdown, maybe not a catch, but I don't think there was enough to overturn it, which is why I don't think they overturned it. But number 2, people say his left foot was out, which I do agree it probably was, but there's a chance he slid it just for a second before he stepped out of bounds. And if he even touched one blade of grass in bounds, that was a touchdown.
Yeah, I'm with you.
So I think that's why they ended up not overturning it. I'm sorry, Armand, go ahead.
Yeah, no, besides that, you got to go back to Hans Brady over here, dropping that open ball. It just kind of brought back bad memories from 2015. That was a game that the Eagles did beat the Patriots in at home, but Brady, same play, wide open, they throw it to him, he catches that ball. If he catches that ball yesterday, he's probably going 25 yards, 30 yards. That makes the difference.
The one thing about that play, why are you calling that to Brady? He's not athletic enough to make that play.
I think because, like Armand said, they called it against us last time we played, and it was very successful. We got like a 40. But I agree with you, with the stitches in the hand and everything, should not have been called. Absolutely
and
not.
Plus, let's pretend Philly did cover him, and let's pretend Malcolm Jenkins was right up on it. Let's say he catches it, and then Malcolm Jenkins just lights him up. That's ball game.
That's what I said. I was like, what if Tom Brady just doesn't have his head on a swivel and literally gets hit harder and more direct than he's ever been hit on that play? That's why I thought it was stupid. But yeah,
like the one with Foles was a little bit different. That's in the end zone. A hard hit. It's probably going to draw a flag. So I just couldn't believe a little bit early too to open the playbook. I didn't really get that.
Yeah, agreed.
Exactly. And you know what? Imagine if Tom Brady's taking that hit that Jenkins laid on Cooks.
Yeah.
Like, forget it. That game is then over at that point.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So I guess I'll go now.
Malcolm Jenkins lit him up right there, and I see people saying that's an illegal hit.
No, it wasn't.
That
That was totally illegal hit.
Absolutely.
All
right.
So, James, I said last week, I would not be surprised at all if Philadelphia won this game. But here we are, the day after the game, and I have to admit, I am a little surprised. Not that Philadelphia won, because of how they won.
Same.
If you had told me, so hang on, I got this all here. For the most part, what we said that had to happen for Philly to win happened. Nick Foles was fantastic. They ran the ball effectively. They got off to a fast start. Tallied over 500 yards of total offense and scored 41 points and won the time of possession by almost 10 minutes. If you told me that was going to happen, I would say, okay, Philadelphia blew them out. Because I would assume the defense would get some stops.
Nope.
But they emerged victorious. Also, if you said before the game that Philly's defense would be non-existent in the second half, Tom Brady would be sacked only one time, he was over 60% until the end of the game. So he completed over 60% of his passes until the final few plays of the game. Threw for over 500 yards. I have no turnovers here, but I should say no interceptions because he did have the one turnover. But the Eagles would still emerge victorious. I would have said you were insane. So that's really the only thing that surprised me. I thought the Eagles played just about a perfect game except defensively. And I will say the one thing we did say last week, James, is that both defenses had to get after the opposing quarterback. Neither were able to do it. Neither defenses were able to do it. That's why the score was so high scoring. But the Philadelphia defense managed to step up when it mattered most, and that turned out to be the difference in the game. We said it would come down to pass rush, and that's exactly what happened. Before the 2-minute warning, they strip-sacked Tom Brady, got the ball back, and then they kicked the field goal to make it an 8-point game. So, just what a game. It was a great game. One more thing I want to say. The 4th and 1 call on their own 45, to go for it on their own 45-yard line, I have to say I love that call. When they didn't convert on third down, I want to mention this. James, I texted you before that drive. I said the Eagles have to have a 9-minute game-winning drive. It almost happened. They had a 7-minute game-winning drive.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was when they didn't convert on third down. I said it out loud to my dad. I was watching with him. I said they have to go for it here because what's the worst case scenario? You're down 1. You give Tom Brady a short field, who you haven't stopped all game. He goes down the field. Let's say he scored a touchdown. It's still a one-possession game. You got more time. I did not think they should punt it. They did the right decision, and it paid off.
Absolutely. I agree.
And another interesting thing was the fact that there was only one punt in that entire game.
Yes. And I believe it was Philly, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking today, who was it that punted? Because they said, I've read somewhere they did stop Brady or New England's offense on third down. I said, well, that would have led to a punt, but they did go for it on 4th down once or twice. I can't remember.
A couple times, and they got it in a couple. I think they went for it twice, got it once, didn't get it the other time. But that brings us into a poll question, which I thought was pretty interesting. Do you guys think that this was a historic Super Bowl upset?
Armand, you ahead, man.
To me, as a biased Eagles fan, yes, I think it was historic. One, you're taking down the best franchise in the past, 20 years, I would say, or 18 years in reality, because of 2001 is when that whole dynasty started. So, yeah, I think it's a very historical I think it's a very historical win, and for those of us longtime Eagles fans, you know what, that's payback for 2004. So, suck on that, Brady.
I say no. And it's nothing against Philadelphia. Before I say this, I don't want to take away anything from Philadelphia. They deserve the Super Bowl, or the Lombardi Trophy, I should say. But that was probably Bill Belichick's worst team in New England. We seem to say this about every year, New England's in the Super Bowl, but that really was his worst team. They had a terrible front seven. So it's not that historic. I knew plenty of people that were saying, they were picking the Eagles to win. And it really wasn't surprising. What was surprising about the outcome was how they won, not the fact they won.
Absolutely. I said absolutely not. I said this last week on the show. If you take away the Patriots' mystique, the Eagles really did have the better roster top to bottom. I even sent you something during the week, Shane, where I kind of just put up all 22 starters on each team and sort of get a check to who won. And I think the Patriots only had, four for sure, and I think maybe you could have argued a couple more, but for the most part, Philadelphia dominated that. I do want to say that we pretty much completely did this video so I could go on my freaking 20-minute rant here. But I want to start by saying, Eagles fan or not, that was one of the better Super Bowls I've seen. I definitely wouldn't put it, top 1 or 2 that I've seen, but it was really good.
It was entertaining.
It looked like a Big 12 game.
Yeah.
It looked like it was Virginia versus Baylor out there, to be honest with you. But I took 11 things away from this game. Sorry to be so many. First one, Tom Brady's still Tom Brady. Tom Brady probably had, top 2 or 3 game I've ever seen him have last night. And ended up losing.
Quick, he got the Aaron Rodgers treatment in that game. He was fantastic, but the rest of the team let him down.
Yep, that's it. I agree. I did feel like everyone was open by like 5 yards, though. I honestly would like to go look at
I'm not sure what Philly was doing in coverage.
Yeah, I don't get it. It was like nothing. It wasn't like he was throwing in windows, but I won't take that away from him. Number 2, the game didn't go at all like I thought it was going to. Like you said, Shane, I honestly expected much more resistance from both defenses. If you told me the Patriots would score 33 points and Philly would still win, I would have called you crazy.
Yep.
Tom Brady, like I said earlier, I swear every time he was throwing a pass in the second half, it was for 20, 25 yards. Like I said, I remember the one drive in particular where Gronk caught like 5 passes. It was like every time they knew Gronk was going to get it, and they just couldn't stop him. And that's when I, was really getting scared. Honestly, the D-line underperformed in this game. I thought the pressure. I thought they were going to, they did get pressure all night, but they never finished it.
They definitely did in the first half, and that's why I thought they were just going to keep bringing it in the second half. But they didn't touch him until that drive with over 2 minutes left.
That's honestly been a knock on Philly all for the past few years is, that they get a lot of pressures, they get a lot of hurries and stuff, but they have a hard time finishing, which is why they have, underwhelming sack numbers in comparison to their pressure numbers. But
and Fletcher Cox was non-existent in that game. I never heard his name once.
No. What's Bill Belichick's motto? You take away the best player. They doubled him and they had him triple team.
Now, do you think Philadelphia's defensive line struggled, or did New England's offensive line just bring it? I think New England's offensive line just brought it.
I think they played up.
Yeah, so did I.
Absolutely.
I think they played well.
I think they knew they were being disrespected all week as well. So that honestly will bring the best out of somebody. But number 3, Nick Foles is a starter in the league. He's shown that if you put the right offensive pieces and coaching staff around him, I would say he's a top 20-15 quarterback.
Easy.
With that being said, like everyone, including myself, said there's no way he can repeat his NFC Championship performance, and he was better.
Yeah.
You look at the stat line; he did have that interception. It wasn't his fault.
Yeah.
Fluky play. I said this before, and it holds true. I've said this on this show before. Nick Foles might not be the most talented quarterback, but he is not afraid of any moment. It seems like nothing gets to him. He's always even keel, which is something that I've said on the show Cam Newton has a problem with. I think if Cam Newton was more like Nick Foles, he'd have a Super Bowl ring right now, to be honest with you. But honestly, Nick Foles strung together a Joe Flacco-esque little postseason run there, and he's really the reason we have the Super Bowl. Number 4, the Patriots window is not closed.
Yeah.
Patriots are going to reload. They're going to get healthy in this offseason. They're going to win another 12, 14 games next year. I fully expect them to be in the AFC Championship at the very least. Number 5, Doug Peterson established himself as a top coach in the NFL. I don't know how you could keep him out of your top 5 at this point. He literally schemed his way to a Super Bowl without arguably the 3 most important positions in the NFL. What are the 3 most important positions in the NFL? Quarterback, left tackle, middle linebacker. Lost all of them.
I think you're putting too much value on middle linebacker, but that's just me.
He was our Mike linebacker. He was our play caller, our quarterback of the defense. That's hard to replace.
And the fact that we've had to replace the middle linebacker 2 other times this season.
Exactly. Our second string middle linebacker, Joe Walker, got hurt. We had to bring in Donnell Ellerbe off the street. That's more on Swartz than Peterson, but still.
And also the fact he got 1 Coach of the Year vote. Come on, stop it.
That Carson Wentz got more MVP votes than Doug Peterson got Coach of the Year.
Now that's ridiculous.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like
we said last week, you swayed me a little bit, James, on Doug Peterson Coach of the Year, but 1 vote? Come on.
I'm on record saying Doug Peterson is a terrible coach. I've said it probably 100 times. I've never been more happier to be wrong about that.
I would agree.
The Philly special call on 4th down and 1 is the most ballsy play call since Sean Payton called the onside against the Colts.
Absolutely.
I haven't seen a ballsier play call since. Worked to perfection because Nick Foles sold that play, by the way. I mean, could not have ran it up any better. Number 6, trench play. I would say almost more than quarterback play decides games. And I want to say that because a great quarterback can win you games without all the extra shit, without the great O-line, without the great defense. But most NFL quarterbacks can perform very, very well if they have time to throw. Nick Foles proved that. He had all day back there. He's not the most talented guy, but they're all good. They can all complete passes.
He was sacked, twice in 3 postseason games? Something ridiculous like that?
Yep.
Sounds about right.
So, and I've said this, the way to win in the NFL, it's a 3-step process, and it honestly isn't that hard. You get a quarterback, you protect the quarterback with the offensive line, and you hurt the other quarterback with your defensive line. That's how you draft, inside out.
Start from the ball out, absolutely.
Absolutely. And number 7, I want to shout out.
Listen up.
Shout out to the running backs. Blunt rushed hard. Ajayi rushed hard. Corey Clement is a sick 3rd down back. He's going to replace Darren Sproles for us. We found him. Donnell Pumphrey, all them. No, sir. By the way, Clement is a longtime Eagles fan from South Jersey, and he just played a very pivotal role in the Super Bowl to help the Eagles win their first Super Bowl. I think that's so cool. Because if I'm a lifelong Eagles fan, I could never imagine being on the Eagles and helping them win the Super Bowl. Like, that's unreal. Number 8, New England's coaching staff, in my opinion, lost them this game. For one, they couldn't stop Elite Fawcett. Matt Patricia, who I've talked up on this show, had a horrible coaching job, honestly. Doug Peterson took him out to the shed out back.
How much of that, honestly, though, was just New England's defense finally facing a really good quarterback, or a good quarterback playing at a very high level?
Well, that's fine to say, but what's New England's MO? Like, don't they scheme themselves out of everything? Like, you got to be able to stop Nick Foles from scoring 41 points.
And
that's ridiculous.
I'll let you finish, but we got to talk about Malcolm Butler.
I was just about to say that.
Okay.
They benched Malcolm Butler, which
makes no sense.
In the game. Eric Rowe, who replaced Butler in the game, got roasted by Alshon Jeffrey the entire first quarter, including that touchdown. That's going to bring me to a poll question, actually. Did Bill Belichick make a mistake by benching Malcolm Butler? I'm going to say yes, but it is going to depend on the reasoning. If it's a typical, I'm the boss because I said so, you did something little that made me mad thing, then yes, Bill Belichick was a stubborn asshole, and it could have lost him the game. But we don't know what could have happened. It could have been something way bigger than that. But go ahead.
Armand.
So actually, I did hear earlier on the radio, like they were talking about like he might have showed up to like a meeting like under the influence or something like that, and that's why he was benched. But in reality, he still played, but he only played special teams. But the fact that he got benched here, let's just go over some stats real quick. So during the regular season, this guy has 60 tackles. He has 1 forced fumble, 3 interceptions, and in the postseason, he has 8 tackles and 1 pass deflection. Regular season, he has 2.
He's a good quarterback.
Yeah, and Eric Rowe, he's played in 8 games this year. He started in 3. He's had 15 tackles all year, 5 pass deflections, and that's all season, including the playoffs. Like, come on now. And as Eagles fans, we know, I still remember the day that dude got burnt by Megatron when we played against the Lions. Like,
yep.
I remember that. I was watching it.
Yeah. Yeah, you got your Super Bowl ring, Eric, but guess what? You still suck. You're gonna lose to a big physical receiver like Alshon all day.
Absolutely. What about you, Shane?
I'm with you guys. I think that was a huge mistake. I really don't understand the decision. If what you say is true, Armand, then he showed up to a meeting during Super Bowl preparation under the influence of whatever, I can kind of get that. This is a job. If you guys showed up under the influence to your job, I'm sure you'd be fired on the spot. So if that's true, then I think that makes a lot of sense. But if it's just something, he said something to the coaching staff, he mouthed off, and Bill Belichick got pissed off and said, my system is more important than a pretty good cornerback, then it was absolutely a mistake. I know Butler had a down year. I know his stats aren't that bad, Armand, but compared to other years, this was a down year for him. I just don't really get it. I think he's easily, with Dante Hightower out, he's either the best or second or third best player on that defense. I say at least the second best player behind Stephon Gilmore. I think he would have made a little bit more of a difference with him in the lineup. On defense, that is, not on special teams.
Absolutely. The Super Bowl isn't the time for an ego trip.
Yep.
If was the case in Bill Belichick's point. I was listening to Colin Cowherd earlier. I'm still listening to him, even though I think he's an ass. He said, when everyone tells you that you're a genius over and over and over again, you start to believe it. You get a little self-absorbed. And
I definitely think, depending on what more information comes out about this, if it's true that he just kind of mouthed off, like I said, I definitely think Belichick's pride got in the way.
Absolutely. I agree. All right, I only have 3 more points here. We don't have too much here. It was obviously just recapping the Super Bowl here. But number 9, again, no Super Bowl would be complete without some controversy. That's coming back to that Clement pass that we touched on earlier. I'll be the first to admit, could have been an incomplete pass. If they would have ruled that on the field, I don't think I would have been pissed that it got overturned, but I don't think I would have been pissed at the officials. But like I said, I don't think that there was necessarily – the fact that they called touchdown on the field is the reason that it stayed a touchdown. If they would have said incomplete on the field, no way they look at that replay and give them a touchdown.
Yeah, I think I said to you, James, you thought you texted me and thought they were calling it back, and I think I texted back saying, no way, that's not definitive.
Yeah, not enough. The Zach Ertz catch, though, that's a catch.
Yeah, I have no idea what Chris Collinsworth was thinking.
People try to compare it to the Dez Bryant and Jesse James play. It isn't the same play. Zach Ertz caught the ball, turned upfield 3 steps, and jumped over the cornerback. At that point, you're a running back. As soon as the ball touches the white, it's a touchdown. And if he had caught it, and as soon as he caught it, he was falling to the ground, and that same play happened, and that is an incomplete pass. But you don't have to maintain possession once you establish yourself as a runner. So
yeah, I watched that live, and it did worry me. I'm sure it worried you guys too. But I watched that live because I was cheering for Philly, and I just saw the ball pop out, and I said, I'm worried this is going to get called back. But then I saw the replay, and I was like, shut up, Chris Collinsworth. He's easily a runner at that point.
Yeah. I can honestly say that I was very nervous about the Clement calling, but I wasn't about the Ertz ruling. I was like, dude, if they call that an incomplete pass, he had the ball for 3 whole seconds. Oh, yeah. I get Dez Bryant did too, but he wasn't running. He was coming down
And Ertz wasn't going to the ground when he made the catch. That's another thing that's overlooked about that rule.
Point. That's the difference between that and the Jesse James play. He was not going to the ground when he caught the ball. He had full everything at that point. All right, just 2 more things here. Nelson Aguilar is very, very dangerous player in space. Everyone wrote him off, including myself. It was never a talent issue, though. It was always a mental issue. He was inside his own head. He couldn't catch anything. But he's confident. He's dangerous. I mean, if you just get him, just give him some gadget plays. He's going to be a good player for us. And I'm actually kind of glad that he underperformed the first couple of years, because now we can get a first-round talent, which I think he is. Maybe second-round talent. We're going to be able to re-sign him very, very cheap, which is awesome.
And you know what? Even going into the offseason or into the preseason, when you're comparing him with Jordan Matthews, you're like, at first, as an Eagles fan, you're just like, what are you, nuts?
Because Jordan Matthews is consistent. Exactly. I agree 100%. But in reality, he is a better player than Jordan Matthews.
Yes.
He's much more of a home run threat. Though I think Jordan Matthews is underrated. He's very consistent, especially out of the slot. But lastly, and this is honestly the point I'm most excited about, Philadelphia is set up for long-term success right now, dude. Have almost every important player under contract through at least the 2020 season. That includes Wentz, Ajayi, Jeffrey, Ertz, Lane Johnson, Brandon Brooks, Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, Timmy Jernigan, Jordan Hicks, Ronald Darby, Malcolm Jenkins, and that isn't even all of them. All of them are coming back.
You forgot one important player, James.
Who's leaving?
No, I shouldn't say that who's leaving, but you forgot one major person who is going to be a free agent in a few years, Carson Wentz. They're going to have to sign him to the big bucks, which means few players are going to have to go.
I don't want to.
But for the most part, you're right.
I really don't want to bank on this, But I really do feel like Carson Wentz is blue-collar enough to be like, I don't need to be the highest paid player in the league. I want to win Super Bowls. I don't want to bank on that because I could never blame him for getting every dime he could.
That's one thing, but will Philly give him that kind of contract? Because you're not going to turn down – if someone offers you $25 million, but you're fine with taking 16, are you going to turn it down?
Let me tell you one more thing. Let me tell you this thing, and I never want to get too ahead of myself. If Philly wins a Super Bowl out of the next 2 years, I think they have a very good chance, if not next year, the year after. If they can get another Super Bowl in there, I really do think Wentz will take less money to stay there and try to become an all-time quarterback. I really do. The best part about the roster being as completed as it is, obviously there's a couple things we could fill, but there's no huge holes. They can go best player available in the draft, and if it's a defensive lineman, if it's a wide receiver, or if it's a tight end or something, I don't care if we don't need them. Go get them. Get the best players on our team. Let's load the roster up. They're probably going to go linebacker or offensive line, and I wouldn't blame them one bit. Those are definitely our weak points. But yeah, that's just brings us. That's pretty much all I have to say about the game. I'm so freaking happy. I mean, I literally spend probably 8 hours a day talking or doing something regarding the Eagles. So it's cool that they finally won a Super Bowl for me. My mom called me and she was literally crying. Like, my mom was crying about the Eagles winning the Super Bowl. So
that's awesome.
It was sick. Yeah, it was super sick. And Philly apparently burnt down last night. I'm going. Armand, are you going to the parade?
Oh, hell yeah, I'm going to the parade.
I'm going there too, dude. I'll hit you up. So we got 3 more poll questions here. I honestly want to talk about them a little bit. Who's the reason Philadelphia won the Super Bowl? Nick Foles, Zach Ertz, Brandon Graham, or Doug Peterson? I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say.
Armand, you're our guest. Go ahead.
It's a good question. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, man. I mean, there's a lot of different components to that. I mean, honestly, you have to look at the coaching first and foremost, because without the coaching, like, you're not getting anywhere. Andy was there for 13 years. We went to 1 Super Bowl. Doug Peterson's there 2 years, and we're Super Bowl champions. First and foremost, it's just like, that's where I'm looking at.
And do you guys think his roster is better than what Andy Reid had? I don't.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, I don't either.
Absolutely not.
I don't think so.
What? They might be better in some key positions, like I think our trenches might be more well-rounded, but as far as like overall better, it's not even close. Andy Reid had 2 shutdown corners, one of the best safeties of all time, Jeremiah Trotter in the middle, nasty D-line. I mean, we had it all going for us. What do you think, Shane?
I kind of went back and forth, but like Armand said, I think you have to give it to the coaching and Doug Peterson. I have it here in my notes. I think he put together a terrific game plan, especially offensively. His play calling, I texted you, James, during the game. His play calling was perfect. Just about flawless, with the exception of one series, and I have it here somewhere. His play calling went on the drive when they kicked the field goal to make it 32-26. They had a first down at the 23-yard line, and they threw the ball 3 straight times. That's the only part of the game where I thought that play calling could have been better. But other than that, I thought it was completely flawless. His decisions to go for it on 4th down right before halftime was great. I shouldn't say great, but it was definitely ballsy and aggressive, and that's what you got to do to beat New England.
It's great. When it doesn't work, it's stupid.
Well, when it doesn't work, that's what it takes to beat New England, and he did it. And then the 4th down call, I thought was a no-brainer. You had to go for it right there. Worst case scenario, you give it back to Tom Brady, who's torched your defense all game. He goes down with a short field, gets a touchdown at the worst, and you're still down a possession. So I thought I just thought he had a perfect game plan.
Agreed.
Although Foles was really good too, but I'm going to give the edge to Doug Peterson.
I was just going to say, I don't know how I can't go 50-50 Peterson-Foles, because at the end of the day, Foles played like a madman. Dude, that's so nerve-wracking. But at the same time, I feel like Nick Foles was like nobody even thinks I was good enough to even be here. Like, who cares, like, if I even have a bad game? It's just whatever. Exactly. So I think it kept him, honestly, a little more calm. Doug Peterson said something before the game that I didn't like at first, and now looking back, I think it was good. He was like, nobody expected you to even be here. So, like, the pressure isn't on us. And I didn't really like that at first. Like, nobody expected us to be here. Like, you should expect us to be here. But then I was like, No, you're right. I think that kept them nice and loose. Honestly, I feel like the pressure was more on the Patriots.
Absolutely,
they were the Patriots.
Yeah.
Even if they had an inferior roster. But yeah, I'm gonna go 50-50 Doug Peterson, Nick Foles. I don't think I can pick. But last poll question here. Do you think Nick Foles is going to be traded this offseason? I can tell you right now, the front office wants to make a statue of Nick Foles. They won't do it, obviously.
Yeah.
They're going to let him pick what he wants to do. If he doesn't mind being a backup and wants to stay on a really, really good team and have a chance to get another ring, then he'll probably end up starting next season if we keep Nick Foles, because we won't rush Wentz back if we have a very quality backup. But they're going to ask him. They're going to say, Nick, do you want to stay here and make $7 million and be a backup and try to win another ring, or do you want to go try to be a starter and make $15-16 million? And it's going to be up to him at that point. He was contemplating retirement, so I don't think it's all about money for him. Maybe he'll want to stay with a winner. I wouldn't. I'd want to go play, and I wouldn't blame him one bit. I honestly kind of hope that he wants to go somewhere, because then we can trade. I don't see one reason we can't get a second and a third rounder. Which
I think they can get a first for him after the way he played.
I think those are about equivalent. Getting a second and a third or a first, I think those are very, very close. We don't have a second or third round draft pick right now. No. Obviously, if we first, we could trade that back and probably get that anyway. Same thing. But yeah. Eagles are Super Bowl champs, and this is sick. I'm glad we started this podcast while my team went on a Super Bowl run. Sick.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm really excited to be here on this podcast. So this is dope. Also, if you don't know, this is a 1960s Super Bowl or World Champions patch. So
that's awesome.
Had to rock it for this podcast. But to answer your poll question, I really hope that they do keep Nick. Just because I want to have that quality backup. Yeah, they can get something for him, but in reality, is he going to want to play for somebody else? Because he even said when he was contemplating if retiring or not, he only wanted to play for Andy Reid.
That's a good point.
So coming to Doug Peterson's scheme right there, and he loves the scheme, he loves the offense, and he loves the coaching staff. So going somewhere else, he's had the worst in Jeff Fisher, and now he's got himself a Super Bowl ring with Doug Peterson.
By the way, this postseason should show how bad of an offensive coach Jeff Fisher is.
Oh, yeah, my God, yeah.
Everyone showed out. He somehow, I saw this earlier, and I thought it was a good point. He somehow made me think Todd Gurley wasn't good.
Right?
Yeah.
Todd Gurley, I just remember thinking I didn't even want to draft him in fantasy. I was like, he's not any good.
I thought his line wasn't very good.
No. And it was not him.
Yeah.
It was not. It's Jeff Fisher, honestly, having absolutely no football IQ on the offensive side of the ball at all. There's no intuition for calling plays. That's what play calling's all about. Dialing up these misdirections and stuff. That's not what it's about. It's about calling the right play at the right time. And I think Doug Peterson during this postseason run did that better than anyone else. And that's why they're Super Bowl champs right now. But I appreciate you guys. Armand, I appreciate you coming on the show, buddy. I think that's it for us, unless anyone else has something.
I still got to answer the poll question.
You didn't answer the poll question? Okay.
No, not yet. Well, first off, I think Nick Foles easily holds all the cards right now. I think the front office would like to trade him this offseason and get some value for him after what he did in the postseason. But he holds all the cards. If he doesn't want to go, I don't see how the front office can be like, well, we're going to get rid of you anyway after you just won us our very first Super Bowl.
They won't.
Or maybe he wants to stay, and then the front office will say, well, can you take a pay cut? We're paying you a backup quarterback way too much money to be here. So who knows? But I think he will stay. And I don't want to say I don't think he'll stay. I think he will be traded. Who knows? I'm just going to say he will be. I think someone somewhere is going to give the Eagles a lucrative offer, and they're going to get rid of him. But I just want to say I've grown to really like Nick Foles. He has a great story. To think he was contemplating retirement just 2 years ago after Jeff Fisher almost ruined him. I think it's awesome. And then he seems like a really great guy after the game in the postseason or the post-game interviews. Really happy for him and the Eagles. Just want to say I'm happy. James, Armand, all my Philly fans, I was pulling for y'all like hell. I wanted to see y'all get it done, and you did. I couldn't be happier for you.
I know you guys were about to end this, but I wanted to say there's breaking news. News just broke about Malcolm Butler on why he's been benched.
Oh, yes, I do have that.
Yeah, it says Malcolm Butler benched in Super Bowl because of sickness, a team violation, and rough practice week.
What's the team violation though? Because that's
Yeah.
obviously the reason. Because you're not going to tell me he had a rough week in practice. Who cares? He's still
exactly.
Still one quarterback.
If Tom Brady had a rough week of practice, do you think they would have benched Tom Brady? No.
Or think about David Tyree, the helmet catch. He couldn't catch anything during practice.
Exactly.
Who knows what Malcolm Butler could have done? He might have picked off a Nick Foles pass for a touchdown, changed the course of the game. Who knows?
I can tell you one thing. He would have defended that Alshon Jeffrey first touchdown of the game better than Eric Rowe did. Yeah, I can tell you that right now.
Guess what? Hey, thanks, Eric Rowe. Appreciate you.
All right, boys. Good to see you all.
Yeah, hey, Armand, it was great having you on the show, man.
Oh, thank you. Anytime, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, have you back real soon.
Yeah.
All right, boys. Later.
Later.
Later.